When you walk into a Disney park, you are entering a lie. It is a beautiful lie, a comforting lie, but a lie nonetheless. The streets are perfectly clean because steam tunnels underground allow trash to be removed invisibly. The buildings are built at 5/8 scale to make you feel taller and safer. There is no crime, no dirt, no sadness, and no decay. We call this the happiest place on earth, but a psychologist might call it a controlled environment. The man who built this world, Walt Disney, was not driven by a simple desire to entertain. He was driven by a pathological need to edit reality. To understand the psychology of Walt Disney, you have to look past the cartoons and seeing the obsession underneath. He was a man who looked at the real world, with its unpredictability, its messiness, and its cruelty, and decided that it was unacceptable. He didn't just want to tell stories, he wanted to build a physical barrier against the chaos of life. His genius was not in magic, it was in the architecture of reassurance. He realized that if you could control every sight, every sound, and every smell, you could sedate the human anxiety mechanism. But to build a world without flaws, you have to become a tyrant of perfection. The root of this obsession lies in a childhood that was anything but magical. Walt's father, Elias Disney, was a brutal, cold, and failure-prone man. He beat Walt and his brothers regularly with a belt or a switch. He viewed art as a waste of time and affection, as a weakness. The Disney household was a place of fear and financial instability. Psychologically, children who grow up in chaotic, abusive environments often develop a coping mechanism known as hypervigilance or obsessive controlling behavior. If you can't control your father's temper, you try to control everything else. Walt escaped into drawing. On a piece of paper, the world was safe. On a piece of paper, he was God. He could make the mouse defeat the cat. He could make the sun shine. This was the seed of the empire. Disney's entire career can be viewed as an attempt to correct his childhood. He wasn't just making cartoons, he was rewriting the script of his own life. The relentless optimism of his movies was not a reflection of his reality, it was a rejection of it. He was willing the world to be better than it was. But the human mind is not a machine, and the pressure of maintaining a fantasy eventually cracks the foundation. In 1931, Walt Disney suffered a catastrophic nervous breakdown. He was pushing his animators to the breaking point, demanding a level of fluidity and realism that had never been seen in animation. He would obsess over a single frame for hours. He couldn't sleep. He would burst into tears for no reason. His hands shook so badly he couldn't hold a pencil. The perfectionism that fueled his rise was now eating him alive. This is the dark side of magic. We often glamorize the grind of the entrepreneur, but we rarely discuss the physiological toll of carrying a vision that is too heavy for one mind. Disney had to take a long sabbatical to recover, but he didn't return cured. He returned with a new strategy. He realized that animation wasn't enough. In a cartoon, the background is static. You can't control the theatre the movie is playing in. You can't control the smell of the popcorn or the rudeness of the usher. He needed total immersion. He needed to pull the drawing off the screen and build it in 3 dimensions. This desire for total control birthed Disneyland. When Disney proposed the park, bankers thought he was insane. Amusement parks in the 1950s were dirty, carnival-style places, often associated with pickpockets and cheap thrills. Disney wanted something else. He built a massive earthen wall around the park, known as the berm. The purpose of the berm was to physically block out the sight of the outside world. Once you were inside, you saw no highways, no office buildings, no reality. He instituted a dress code for guests. He trained employees, whom he called cast members, to never frown, never sit down, and never say, "I don't know." He famously said, "I don't want the public to see the world they live in while they're in the park. I want them to feel they're in another world." This was the ultimate victory of the perfectionist. In the real world, grass dies. In Disneyland, the landscaping was replaced overnight. In the real world, paint chips. In Disneyland, the fences were painted every single night. It was a sterile, sanitized utopia. It was the safe childhood he never had, built from concrete and steel. In his final years, the obsession escalated to its logical conclusion. Disneyland was too small. He wanted to fix society. He began designing EPCOT. Most people know Epcot as a theme park with a golf ball structure, but Walt's original vision was the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. It was to be a real, functioning city where people lived, but it was a city with terrifying rules. No one could own their own land. They would rent from Disney. There would be no retirees. Everyone had to work. There would be no voting. Walt would control the transportation, the employment, and the design of every home. It was, effectively, a benevolent dictatorship. He truly believed that if he could just control every variable of human existence, he could eliminate suffering. He died before he could build it, and the company turned it into a theme park instead. But the vision remains a haunting testament to his psychology. Walt Disney teaches us that perfectionism is a double-edged sword. It can create things of breathtaking beauty, movies that make us cry, parks that make us feel like children. But for the creator, it is a heavy burden. It is a lonely existence where nothing is ever quite good enough, where the only way to feel safe is to play God. The magic came at a price, and Walt paid the bill.